Hello, good afternoon. I'm Eugenio del Bosque. I am director of CineFestival San Antonio. Thank you for joining us today for Guadalupethon. I hope you've liked what you've seen so far. There's a lot more coming up today. Of course, this is all celebrating Giving Tuesday, a day of supporting nonprofit organizations all over the United States. And the Guadalupe Cultural Arts Center is the mother or mothership organization for CineFestival San Antonio, and your support counts a lot. Every dollar counts. Thank you for donating if you have already done it, and if you haven't, please don't hesitate in looking for different ways of donating to the Guadalupe. You can donate online. You can write us a check. You can even volunteer to our programs. And today I'm here to talk to you about CineFestival, the longest running Latino film festival in the nation. It started, of course, in San Antonio, and it started in 1977, and it is now going into its 46th edition, which is an immense privilege for me to be part of. I am going to be doing my fifth year as director of CineFestival. So what we have prepared for you during this CineFestival segment of Guadalupethon is a series of interviews with three local filmmakers. Um, Due to the time constraints that we have today, we're going to share one of the interviews right now, and then in the next couple of weeks, we're going to post this one interview that you'll see today and two more interviews on our YouTube channel for you to visit and see a little bit of what we have talked about with three local filmmakers. These filmmakers are Guillermina Zavala, um, Ray Santi Esteban, and Jim Mendiola. I think these are have become household names in San Antonio for the past few years. The three filmmakers gracefully accepted to be interviewed by me, and we had very good and kind of long conversations, which is why we're only including one of them here. And one of the reasons why we chose to talk to Guillermina and Jim and Ray is because the three of them are established filmmakers working in San Antonio. And also, the three of them have been involved with CineFestival as curators, as festival directors. So the three filmmakers that we've interviewed for this segment of Guadalupeton are my predecessors at CineFestival, which is a real privilege to be able to have access to people who have a long history with the film festival. Um, the three filmmakers that we spoke to have also presented their work at CineFestival. Um, so they've been, sort of in front and behind the scenes with CineFestival, and the insights that they have is really important, I think, for CineFestival as an institution. Um, One of the things that really caught my attention talking to them is how there is a shared perspective, which I share with them as well, that when one as a curator or a film programmer is given the opportunity um, to lead CineFestival for a period of time, it really seems like we are walking into a moving train that is going, and we're going to help keep it in direction and on time, um, and and to sort of get the right passengers on board. But the train is going and is not stopping. I think there was this very clear sense of what CineFestival means to so many people in the filmmaking community around the United States, in San Antonio, in Texas, and really around the world, because it was a major international film festival for many, many years. Um, and of course, what CineFestival means to audiences in San Antonio. Since it's been around for so long, it's been a few generations of both audiences and artists that have had the opportunity to witness what CineFestival is all about. And really, I mean, it is the audiences and the artists who make CineFestival. So it's not really only a witness position that folks take when we talk about CineFestival, but it's all, you know, we are the train, if you would. It is the people that make CineFestival um, a successful event every year. So, as you know, the Guadalupe Theater did close down last year for renovations. So, for the first time in over 30 years, CineFestival went on the road again, as it used to be when it was first started in the late 70s. Last year, we had the opportunity to be at a couple of different venues, and we did have a successful festival thanks to audiences who reached to us and found us and were able to attend the different screenings and master classes and parties that we hosted. And of course, we had almost 80 artists in attendance, which is really a gift um, for us during CineFestival to be able to host so many artists and to have filmmakers in attendance for virtually every single screening. So I want to thank all of you who participated last year and previous years in CineFestival. For the upcoming year, we are already at work with the 46th edition of CineFestival, which is scheduled for July 10th to the 13th of 2025. We are still working on confirming venues. We're hoping to stay the same as last year, or last edition. But these things are still in the works. We will be launching our call for entries in the next 4 weeks. And that sort of formalizes the beginning of the festival cycle, and we'll start receiving material to review. As it has been for the past 6 or 7 years, CineFestival will remain with a strong local and regional focus in the films that we program. And this means also that we program a lot of short films because a lot of local filmmakers are young folks who are starting their careers or are continuing their careers, and the formats that are available to them to continue working is short films. So of course, there will be a few feature films, and we'll keep an eye on Mexican films, especially that are coming out this year, to include in the program. And one thing that we are working on developing a little bit more is the talks that we host. Last year, we hosted a very successful masterclass with filmmakers Ileana Sosa and Roby Flores, who were in town to present their films. And Ileana was presenting the segment that she filmed for God Save Texas, the HBO series that premiered earlier this year. And Roby was in town for the San Antonio premiere of her feature film, The In Between. The screenings were very successful, and their masterclass was an important milestone for us at CineFestival because it really brought home the certain themes about filmmaking in Texas, women filmmakers working in Texas, filmmakers working right at the border, a region that has caught so much attention in the last few years and is going to continue to be the focus of attention without a doubt in the next few years. So for us, it's very important to keep a finger in the pulse with the work that is being done at the border, and also with the work that women filmmakers are doing in the state of Texas and in San Antonio as well. Um, One of the aspects that we see worth promoting, if you would, at CineFestival is encouraging local work from San Antonio made by women filmmakers. Um, Another trend that we've seen hosting these talks, and especially also hosting material or films made by university programs and also high school programs, is that we can really track down the new generations of filmmakers who are going to become professionals in the next few years and in the next decade, really. Some of what you're about to see in my conversation with Guillermina Zavala is that she is now part of the filmmaking program at UTSA. And a little bit of what she shared with us about this is that, of course, Guillermina had been an educator for a very long time, I think for almost 15 years, leading the media arts program at CiC, another local nonprofit that you should keep an eye on for donating today. Is a sister organization and a neighbor organization for the Guadalupe Cultural Arts Center, and we collaborate in several fronts with them. Um, but Guillermina led the media arts program there at CC, and she really excelled at in providing guidance and resources to budding filmmakers. To these are very young people who are doing after school programs after middle school and high school sessions, and so Guillermina already had a very important role as an educator in San Antonio, and now she has become part of the filmmaking degree at UTSA. And she was sharing with us in conversation that this is the first 4-year um, program where students can actually graduate with a filmmaking degree, as opposed to a communication degree that had some filmmaking elements. Other universities in town have been doing this type of program as part of communications, including filmmaking aspects in their curriculums, and which is very important and very valid. And the more universities uh, do this, the more talent is going to be fostered in San Antonio. So Guillermina, having led the way in, working with very young students at the after school um, programs at CC, and now with university students at UTSA, is something that is very relevant for us because we of course are very interested in keeping track of the careers of so many Latinas and Latinos who are um, interested uh, in exposing their talents and becoming educated to be a filmmaker, which is a career that is a very challenging career. And in this day and age, the filmmaking world is going through a lot of transitions with the streaming platforms and um, funding sources changing hands. And so deciding to be a filmmaker is not a light decision at the end of the day. So for all of you young and not so young filmmakers who are watching, I commend you for your persistence, and of course we look forward to seeing some of your work as we open our call for entries in the next 4 weeks. And for audiences in general, please keep an eye on our social media channels and on our website to learn more about what's coming with CineFestival later in 2025. As I already shared with you, the dates for the next film festival are July 10th to the 13th in 2025. We'll be sharing our venues coming up, and I'm sure it will be a wonderful program. So, without further ado, I want to leave you with our segment that we recorded with filmmaker Guillermina Zavala. Briefly about Guillermina, I already told you a little bit about her, but she arrived in San Antonio in 2005 from Los Angeles. She already had a career as an editor in LA. And back in 2005, she was the curator and director of CineFestival, um, only for 1 year. And actually, back then, I had the opportunity to collaborate with her at CineFestival. She invited me to be a jury member, and that was coincidentally my first contact with CineFestival as well. And after that, she moved on to lead the media arts program at CC, which she very successfully did for a number of years. I think it is 15 years that Guillermina was at the front of the media program there. And also along the way, Guillermina became an independent filmmaker. She had been an editor, but she became a director. And In recent times with CineFestival, we have had the opportunity to show a few of her works. In 2021, the CineFestival actually opened. The opening night was Juanito's Lab, which is a feature film that Guillermina co-directed. And it's a fascinating work on conjunto music in San Antonio. Um, I'm not sure where, if there is an opportunity to watch Juanito's Lab at this point, but if CineFestival has the opportunity to share with audiences again, we would love to. It is an important work, not only for San Antonio, but for the music history in the United States as well. Um, and Furthermore, in I believe 2002, Guillermina came back with a couple of short films, and one of them, Las Artivistas, actually took home the Mesquite Award for Best Documentary Short Film Made in Texas. Um, so again, important work talking about women in San Antonio who combine art and activism. Um, uh, and again, I'm not exactly sure where can this be available, but if you see, if you have an opportunity to catch any of Guillermina's work at some point, if you see it being exhibited somewhere, do not hesitate in making sure you catch it because she's doing important work, just as our other colleagues and filmmakers that we interviewed for this series, Ray Santiesteban and Jim Mendiola. Catch their interviews later next week on YouTube. And for now, we will leave you with Guillermina Zavala. Thank you so much. We thank you for your support to the Guadalupe Cultural Arts Center. Don't forget to donate today and help us reach our goals. And if you can't donate today, consider doing it at some other time. But every dollar counts. Thank you for your support. Guillermina Zavala, thank you so much for joining me today for Guadalupethon 2024.
Thank you, Eugenio. Thank you for inviting me.
Of
Excited to be
course.
here.
Likewise, excited to have you. Always good to see you. I I want to offer very quickly the long career that you have had in San Antonio and the privilege that it's been to having tangentially been involved in seeing a lot of what you have accomplished in San Antonio as an educator and as an independent filmmaker too. Without much further ado, I want to ask you if you can share with us a little bit about your career as a filmmaker and as a film educator in San Antonio. You were a filmmaker already when you came to San Antonio. And of course, half an hour or so is not going to pay justice to the stories that you have, but if you can briefly summarize your filmmaking adventures in San Antonio for us.
Sure, yes, I will. Yes, you mentioned adventures. Yeah, definitely. Because as an independent filmmaker, you do have to it is an adventure, right? Every time you work in a new project, the good thing about filmmaking, it's all about team working. So that it's one of the things that I learned about moving to San Antonio from LA. I was in LA and I moved to San Antonio 2005. And one of the things that was great about being here and learning more about the film community here is that it was a community. And so that's the first thing I will say, though. As an independent filmmaker, it was great to be here because in all the projects that I work with, either being my projects, like I initiated the projects, or I was working with other filmmakers, it was always great because you could feel that collaborative effort. In terms of my work, it's been it shifted quite a lot. I was coming from LA, which was very industry oriented, and I was working at some projects of my own as director, but it was also working as an editor, as a film editor, video editor, working in different formats. And coming to San Antonio allowed me to concentrate more on my own stories, my own work. And I wanted to shift gears from more of an industry style to much more experimental video artwork, short formats and documentary work. So right away, I started doing a lot of work, more like a, video artwork that it was part of different interdisciplinary exhibits. A lot of my work was shown at the museums and galleries, and slowly kind of getting more into also video poetry. So I had works done with local filmmakers and local artists like, Amalia Ortiz. We did the piece, A Yanaguana Woman, based on Carmen Tafoya's work. So I like to, it was a great opportunity to collaborate with other artists. Did sort of music videos for other musicians here. A Night in December that I worked and collaborated with Joel Dealey, for example. And then, more and more I started realizing that there was just so much stories to tell, but also culturally rich stories to tell here in San Antonio, and kind of learn more about the West Side, learn more about the, art and music in that area, and met a lot of interesting characters, and got to, kind of, I guess, focus on stories like the Juanito Castillo story. So I worked as a co-director and co-producer for feature film Juanito's Lab, which was actually showcased at CineFestival opening night in 2021. Yeah, 2021.
2021. My first year, it
Yeah,
was my very first screening with CineFestival.
yeah, exactly. So thanks
Mhm.
for inviting us. And that was amazing. I mean, the whole filmmaking experience was incredible to work in that film. My first feature film as a director, but then before that, I did a lot of work as an editor for feature films. So that also gave me a good idea of, like, structure and vision and what you wanted to work on. And then as an educator, right? So, like, one of the things that's great about being an independent filmmaker, that you could not only work on your own projects, work with other filmmakers, but also prepare and nurture emerging filmmakers. Yeah, so young filmmaker, young artists who wanted to get into media arts, and sometimes they don't have references or they don't have access to equipment. So when I got to San Antonio again, it was around 2005 that I started working as a media arts director for CiC. And it was really a life-changing experience. Not, I mean, for me, but I know it was also for students coming in, and again, having a lot of stories to tell, not necessarily the space, the access, the opportunity. So building that program at CiC. CiC back in the days already had a media arts program, but it wasn't very much focused on film per se. So my job was to let's move it and focus it on filmmaking. That's what we noticed that the students wanted at that time.
Mhm.
And it it is a great experience to be an educator, because again, you could share your own experience with the students, your knowledge, either be technical or storytelling aspects, but also at the same time, it's reciprocal learning. You really get to learn a lot from young voices, and understanding also where they're at in terms of their own journey as a filmmaker, as artists, and find ways of helping them develop those voices.
Mhm. Mhm. Yes, very important. I think CC really filled in that space where that you mentioned, given not only the technical resources, but also the references and the
Mhm.
opportunity for young artists or artists to be to just
Right.
experiment, which is really, where most of it comes from, is just being able to actually put into practice the ideas that you have. And for young people, that is always so important. Um, and of course, now you've kind of taken another step as an educator, and you are now working at the university level as well. And to talk about that and in the greater context of young filmmakers working in San Antonio, of which you've seen so many generations, and we'll get to talk about a little bit about some of the people that um, we have been able to showcase at CineFestival that were your students. Because in the short time that I've programmed for CineFestival, I've seen a lot of youth films, films made at CC, and some of them made the leap into producing more professional work, if you would, once they've graduated high school or gone into college or even graduated college. And of course, filmmaking, is an important decision to make for people to dedicate their lives to filmmaking or to at least give it a try as a career. And the landscape has changed so much professionally for filmmakers from say 2005 as a reference from when you arrived in San Antonio to the present. The situation and the business is changed so much. But at the grassroots level, if you would, or at the local level in San Antonio, and we see this a lot, a few a few things that are very strong and that strike me as very important in the San Antonio filmmaking community is that people are working with the support of family and friends, and they're not necessarily waiting for budgets to come through. Um, Even professional filmmakers, established filmmakers like yourself or other filmmakers that we've been having conversations for this segments at Guadalupethon, they are working on a big project and fundraising and taking the time, which can take years to put together a larger project, a feature film. But at the same time, they're working on shorter formats that they can just go to and do it without waiting for money. So they can, count on the support of colleagues, friends, family, their own technical knowledge, and their time, because that's if you don't have money, you need the time. So they're carving up the time. Professionals are doing that, and semi-professionals or um, filmmakers that are not necessarily doing filmmaking year round. We see them a lot, and most everyone is working this way. They're not waiting for big budgets to come through.
Mhm.
And another thing that is very striking is that a lot of them say that they don't want to decamp to LA or New York or Austin for that matter, because their interest lies in telling stories that are based in San Antonio because that's where they're from and that's what they're interested in. So I think this speaks very strongly about the community that you mentioned before. So in the context of all this, if you can tell us a little bit about that, that path as an educator and the things that you've seen come out from the dozens of students that you've mentored, um, connecting now with your experience at a more formal level, if you would, at the university. Um, and somewhere woven in there, a little bit of what we were just mentioning before we started recording here regarding the hope that we will see more women directors and producers um, uh, producing work in San Antonio, more local women
Mhm.
filmmakers coming into the scene in the next few years. And what do you see judging by your experience as an educator in that context?
Good. Yes. Well, I think you covered different things. I will talk a little bit first about the local stories and really kind of nurturing who we are here, and then a little bit about the gender kind of question in terms of whether or not women are able to kind of break into the industry a little bit more, and if it's going to be changing more. I think the first question. So yeah, one thing that again it's really good to, or at least for me, I feel good to be part of a faculty, in my case here at UTSA, being a faculty member, building a new program. This program at UTSA, it's only about 3 years. And just to give you a kind of a short context is that San Antonio didn't have a 4-year degree program in film production until this program at UTSA. So we have amazing programs at a community college level. San Antonio College, Northwest Vista College, and Incarnate Word also has, now they didn't have a 4-year degree call it in film production. They're just starting more film production within the communication department. But the reality is that before now, we hadn't really had a lot opportunity for students to move into a 4-year degree college, right? So what we are seeing here now is that we are filling up that gap, that need that it was there. And we are encountering and meeting a lot of students that they're really excited about coming into the program. Some students already had some experience, either be from high school, from community college, or just kind of working on their own. And one of the things is that, yes, that need of telling their own stories. One thing that we're trying to do, and I especially worked on this year through a Humanity Texas grant that we received early this year, was really focusing on telling Texas stories through film and how we can, help encourage, nurture, and kind of, I guess, give students certain references of our local filmmakers so they can understand that they don't have to go all the way to LA or New York. I mean, they can still go and learn and come back, but there is so much to do here. We have also great support from the Film Commission and other alliances that we have and other production companies that they're really looking for uh, educators and programs like ours and other institutions, again, high school level, community college level, and university level, where we can really train the next filmmakers, and these filmmakers stay in San Antonio and tell our stories. Yes, and as just the more I've been teaching here at UTSA, the more I could see students coming from all different backgrounds, and that really need to tell their own story. Some examples from students that I know, like former students from SAC, for example, I'd like to mention Cesar Martinez. It's a young filmmaker who now it's based in New York. And just to give you an example, when he was a student at SAC, he's Mexican American, and he always wanted to bring the stories from her own experience, from what he learned from his parents and going back to Mexico during the summers. And there was a lot of that included in his own stories. And nowadays, he produced several short documentaries that got into the New York stories, for example, the New Yorker stories online.
Nice.
It's great. It's amazing to see someone from San Antonio who went to SAC, for example, and got now recognition around different places. Alejandro Peña, Esmeralda Hernandez.
Of
Esmeralda
course.
Hernandez is someone who was a student at SAC and has already done so much amazing work. And I'm so proud of her work. She went to UT Austin because our program wasn't available at that point. So we're hoping that more Esmeralda Hernandez will come to our program, which and I'll talk about that. I will talk about some great upcoming female artists, female filmmakers coming out of our program. But Esmeralda really has surprised me. And you know her work as well, because
Of
she's
course.
already been showing her work at CineFestival. So she is someone who definitely we're all very proud of her, because not only she's really learning the craft of how to tell stories in a cinematic way, in a beautiful way, and it comes from her own personal stories, that's amazing. It's good to see that someone is able to use this medium to bring
Yeah.
the stories who also connect with the entire community. Um, and in terms of how do I see kind of the gender gap changing a little bit, or I guess sort of the spectrum in terms of whether or not female filmmakers are able to get more into leadership roles, roles that other, before we would not see them. Um, I remember seeing that changing a little bit, even from say C. I remember seeing a lot of young girls wanted to be, camera, being behind the camera, doing DP work, writing stories, being the directors. And we had several students who really got to kind of that path and really prove that they were amazing at what they were doing. And now at UTSA, I would like to tell you about a couple other great stories. In this case, it's a nonfiction film. So I teach a class that is a very unusual class. It's film and medicine. So we combine documentary filmmaking with medical humanities, and we have students from both programs. And um, 2 semesters ago, I had a couple of students who were amazing because they didn't know much about filmmaking. They're both coming, one coming from health, the other one coming from art. And the two female students who put together a great film. I believe it was also shown at CineFestival. It's called This is Medicine.
Yes.
And they, yeah, they didn't know much about documentary format. They didn't know much about camera and, lighting and all of the technical aspects. But what was great is that they really wanted to tell the story, because they were learning. They already knew a little bit about, alternative medicine, but as they slowly became independent filmmakers because, as documentarians, even though you might have an idea of what you want to do, you learn a lot about your subject and about your topic as you go, as you film. And still, that was really great to see them discover a lot of new stories about, alternative medicine here in Texas. So
And it had a touch of humor too, which I really
yes.
appreciated. I remember that it had a touch of humor that made it a lot, it just refreshing.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess just to summarize both aspects, I mean, I tend to be more of an optimistic. So I'm gonna say that I really see um changes in terms of those two aspects. Can we tell our own stories? And can those stories, be shown in other places that are not necessarily here in Texas, and they're universal? And a lot of those stories are. And then can we really give a space to minorities and people that generally are not in leadership roles or not in roles where they can tell their own stories? Can we give a space to those new voices? And I believe it's happening. And I think that also places like CineFestival and a lot of local film festivals and other local venues who are inviting local filmmakers to showcase their work. If thanks to them, we're able to keep working. We are on this side behind the scenes, helping the students and helping independent filmmakers get their work done. And then if we don't have a spaces to show their work, that is very difficult. So I'm really thankful that we have those spaces
Mhm.
to show their work.
Yes, thank you. And that segues into my last question for you today. And of course, because at CineFestival, we're currently trying to consistently find new ways of filling in an important role, both for the artists community and for the public. Um, of course, giving access to works that wouldn't otherwise not be seen is something that we can do for the community, and showcasing the work of artists and trying we have been working in trying to become point of a meeting point where artists can meet every year, because it's
Mm.
in the middle of summer and fortunately folks do make their own way to visit San Antonio for the festival. Um, for the most part, people come on their own. We help a few artists with the small travel budget that we have every year. But people do gather, and we've been trying to more or less formalize those gatherings, or just create the right spaces so artists can talk and network and share ideas and experience and have a good time, of course, and also
Mhm.
for the audience to be part of this experience. Especially now that the viewing experience has become a smaller screen at home, or maybe a larger screen, but still at
Mhm.
home, maybe in smaller groups, or just individually, people are watching things on their own. Um, we are trying to keep that collective experience alive and thriving.
Mhm.
So, um, my question to you is if you can tell us a little bit about the importance of an event like CineFestival for the San Antonio community. Um, and of course, I'll go back in time again a little bit to, I think you said 2005 when you first came to San Antonio that you were actually
Mhm.
involved with CineFestival. You were the director and programmer for CineFestival for, I believe, 1 year.
Yes,
Um, and I also remember that you invited me to be a jury member,
that's
because
right.
I was in Austin and we had shown your films before you came to Texas when I was programming the festival in Austin. So we had already been in touch, and eventually that was my first connection with CineFestival in person, was when you were the director, and I came over and we watched some films, and then I attended the festival for like a day or so. And this seems like
Yes.
a different life at this point.
Wow. Yes.
Yeah, and so that's just a little bit of context and you know your background as it connects to CineFestival and San Antonio, um, and but also if you can tell us a little bit about that importance. Of course, not only
Mhm.
CineFestival, there are other film events in San Antonio that are equally important, and it's a whole ecosystem.
Mhm.
But CineFestival being around for so long and having changed over the years from, what you saw when you first came to now and over time, um, just kind of what kind of role does it fulfill, if you would, for artists and the community?
Yes, I do remember that. I know it's been a while, right? It's 21 years now already. It's a long time, but I will say that I will talk a little bit about, yeah, back in the days when I was the director of CineFestival, or curator slash director of CineFestival. I was, again, just arriving from LA and getting to know the film community in San Antonio. So being part of CineFestival, it was a great opportunity for me to connect with local filmmakers, and then bring filmmakers, bring movies, and in many cases, filmmakers from other parts of the US and Latin America. Um, so overall, it was a really great experience. The festival was about a week long. So it was a quite of a long, yeah, almost a week long. I think it's 5, 6 days long. And so it was quite of a big task. And I was extremely thankful for you and the other judges who came along and really helped review all the submissions and finally help us make a final selection. Um, I remember back then my goal for CineFestival, knowing the history behind CineFestival. You mentioned already how important it is. It is a very important center here in San Antonio and also nationwide, being the longest Latino running film festival. And just kind of knowing the history behind, when I came in, learn a little bit about what other filmmakers were here before and the films that were shown, and that importance was like, what can I do to make sure that I keep that tradition, but then also bring something new? So part of it was bringing films from Latin America, bring films from the Latinx community, not just here in Texas, but other places, in the US. And so have that was a very important thing. I remember that was the vision that we wanted to make sure that we have. And then obviously giving space to emerging and student filmmakers, which CineFestival had always had that, which is really important. It's something that you don't want to lose, and you have it, and you're very good, Eugenio, to also support that and have additional, workshops and talks and things like that, where again, students and emerging filmmakers could really take advantage of those opportunities, which is as important as coming to the screenings. So that was the goal back then. And I believe that what it's amazing and it's really good that CineFestival has been a rock, really, an important foundation of the film community here in San Antonio because of the reasons I just mentioned. Not only supporting local filmmaking, supporting student and emerging filmmakers, but also bringing new voices from other perspectives, other regions, other places. We're all connected by language. We're all connected by common stories related to Latin American and Latino experience, but all those stories are told in a very different ways, using cinematic language in so many different ways. So it's really this, 5 days, 7 days, 3 days, whatever time the festival has been, shown. It's just an enrichment experience. I know a lot of filmmakers are always looking forward to CineFestival. So that's one thing that I really thank Guadalupe that it's still happening and it will still happen for many years. So that's amazing.
Fingers crossed with the
My
support
own
of everyone.
experience. Say it again.
Oh, just fingers crossed about for what you just
Oh
said.
yeah, it's gonna we're gonna keep CineFestival. CineFestival
Of
will be
course.
alive forever. I think my own experience has been amazing. Like you said, first as a director curator, years later have my students' shorts and work shown there, and it was always a great because a lot of the shorts were only being shown in small screens, and then now students get an opportunity to see it in the big screen with audience, new audiences. They get the opportunity to go up in the stage, talk about their work. Some of them receive awards, and so it's a life-changing experience for students and for independent filmmakers. I will say again, for me, just also recently 2022, I got the opportunity to show one of my most recent shorts, Las Artivistas, the journey from artist to activist, and which I did with Esmeralda and Esmeralda Hernandez, Sara, and Bianca. I follow these three subjects, and it's the film all about art and activism. And not only was
Right.
amazing to, again, show the film in the big screen, um, also as a big surprise, receive an award
Of
at
course.
CineFestival
Yes.
and open up the doors. I had that film shown at all different places. Just recently received an award from the Activists Without Borders Film Festival in Manchester. And I was like, oh, this is great. Now the film is in other places. So CineFestival is a place that open doors and invites people from all over. It's local but universal. And it really changes lives for both filmmakers and people who go and watch films, because these films, you won't be able to see them in other places. They're
Right.
indie films, they're short films. If you don't show them in the big screen, they get lost. And I think that is the role that CineFestival plays. And I'm so, so thankful that we
Yes.
have you guys here
Yeah.
in San Antonio.
Thank you. Me too. And it's interesting that you mentioned, I mean, you programmed CineFestival, as you said, 21 years ago. And I can relate to that experience of the festival kind of has a life of its own, and you as the programmer or as the director are only one factor in the life and the force of this event that has been going on for so long and that is so alive in the minds or in the lives and careers of so many people that it's I've never been part of a festival like that where it really has
Mhm.
a life of its own.
Yes.
And by going in as a curator or as a director or in any other role, you really are jumping into this one ship that is, it's already going. And
Yep.
people already have it in their minds and in their, schedules and in their artistic universe, which is it's really a privilege to be part of, and it's a great experience. Um,
Mhm.
So with that, I'm going to close with a short and hopefully not too tricky question. Um,
Okay.
to our other interviewees for this small series for Guadalupethon, I've asked this question in the context of CineFestival itself, because they were both also curators or directors of CineFestival at some point in their careers. Um, in this case for you, I'm going to open it a little bit more, and you can throw us a filmmaking adventure um, story. Because you were with CineFestival for only 1 year, and because it was 21 years ago. But
Yeah.
if you can tell us, an anecdote, a war story of your experience as an independent filmmaker in San Antonio, or as a curator or director of CineFestival when you were, um, so one of those anecdotes that may have stuck with you that is, particular to your career, and um, a bit of a war story, if you would.
My biggest fear all the time was, are we gonna have enough people? And I'm sure for yours the same. Um, Not so much about the projection, although that was always there. You're always thinking, oh my God, I hope everything runs smoothly. But it never does. Oh wait, not never, but you're always gonna have a little issue here and there. So
Right.
I guess over the years, I learned from both parts, from being, organizer and from being the actual filmmaker being there. I think after so many years, I would say that I could relax, maybe, but it's usually never a relaxing moment because you're always like, yeah, always ready in case something happens. You always have to have that plan B. So that's what I learned. But also I learned that if you are relaxed, um, things might not happen, or if it happens, people don't like, oh, okay, I didn't notice. It wasn't a big deal. If you're very tense and you're always worried, that weird energy moves somewhere and then problems happen. So I'm trying to be more relaxed, and it's like, oops, all right, oops, how we can like redo it. I don't know. That's like a silly anecdote. I don't know. I mean, I think that yeah, definitely now, like after so many years, and even with as a filmmaker, and this is what I tell my students, oh my God, I run into so many, it's hard to even tell how many problems we've run into as filmmakers. So many. I mean, I could think, I don't know, filming with Azul, we were filming a music video. We went all the way to Guadalupe River, and I had in my mind this beautiful shot of her coming out of the river, and we get there and it's all green and it's ugly, and I'm here, yeah. How could I ask my actress to get into this river? So that is always like this, from what you think it's going to be amazing, and then when you get there, it's not there. Working with Juanito Castillo was always an amazing thing because sometimes you will have everything in plan. This is what I want, but he's just an amazing character that things will just pile up in a different way. I mean, pan out in a completely different way. And it was much better than what you were
Mhm.
planning. I remember Juanito always telling us, you're just going to have to follow me through my whole life. And I'm thinking, we got to finish this film at some point. You can follow you through whole life. We almost did. And it was like,
Right.
no, we got to stop. We can't follow you through your whole life. And yeah, so you get like, I think as a filmmaker, it's that is what great about being a filmmaker because you're always going to have surprises. It's called surprises better, or like happy mistakes. Just because you got to be ready for those, and how you can use your creativity to fix, not fix, but I guess, to make them part of your film.
Mhm.
I think that's what it makes you really an amazing filmmaker. And even if you're working fiction, that will happen because we're independent filmmakers. So we don't have like tons of money to be like, oh, we could reshoot it, or like, it's like we got to
Fix
go
it in
and use
post.
what we have and make
Yeah.
it best. Yeah. Fix it in post. Yeah. Although, yes. Okay. Well, nowadays with, oh my God, with a lot of the AI stuff that Premiere Pro could do and other apps is amazing. But yeah, still, I don't tell my students, don't think about fixing in post, try to get the best out of in production. But I don't know if that counts as an anecdote. It
Of
was like
course,
all over
yeah.
the
Your
place.
first one is very perceptive. I agree. If you know that tension does reflect into audiences and team members and everybody else, even the technology itself starts picking up on the energies
Yeah, right.
and acting
Yes.
out. So yeah,
Is the energy,
absolutely.
is the energy.
Hmm.
That's
Yeah.
why, and when you always see you very relaxed, you look always relaxed. So I think you're doing good, right? I
At least
mean, how are you feel?
outside.
Like every time when I go to CineFestival, like Eugenio's doing amazing. He's very relaxed.
It's all in the recovery process. That's what takes forever, because it
Right.
probably is the process of internalizing a lot of it. And even after so many years of doing it, the aftermath is something that I to this day have to learn how to manage because it can be very heavy because it's a
Right.
build up and it takes so much and it's so exciting. There's so much energy, so much of expectation. Not for me only, but for so many people.
Right.
But it always helps that San Antonio is a great community. It's a good place to visit. The artist community is great and the audiences are fantastic. So it's that's really what's there is and you've just become this vehicle, right? Where
Yeah.
things kind of just run through you in a way. So
Yeah. And no, totally. And I think the one important thing to mention is that we might look like we're relaxed, like, like I said, or in kind of in a place where like we're ready. But you could be like that because you've already rehearsed, right? And
right.
you took all the, necessary organizational kind of
Mhm.
skills and
and,
preparation.
and and you
So,
have a
and that's,
team
yeah,
that is going to
exactly.
do everything. I mean, of course, everybody does their part, but having a team, which is what you mentioned when we started this conversation, is having working
Yes.
filmmaking is a team effort. It's the same with a film festival, it's a team effort. And it's so important to have, the right team or a good team that will
Mm-hmm.
carry through. So yeah, yeah. It reminds me, Francisco Vargas, the director of an amazing Mexican film called El Violín. Um,
Yeah.
they asked him, how do you do it? And he said, we just had to be prepared for any type of situation that we could encounter when filming.
Mm-hmm.
So it was all in the planning. So when because then, just like you said, once we're in there doing it, we don't know what's going to happen. We can have all the visions and the plans that we have, but we're going to have to adapt.
Yep.
So being ready is really key.
Yeah.
Yeah. So great. Well, thank you so much, Guillermina. It's great to have you here for Guadalupethon.
Thank you. It's been a
Yes.
pleasure. And
Likewise,
yeah,
it's good to see you, and hopefully we'll see you soon at the next CineFestival in the summer.
yes, I'll attend. Always excited to see what new films you're going to be programming.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Take care.